Democrats. Today is Thursday, March 3rd, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Thursday. So I know I've touched on this a couple of times, but I want to circle back and talk about the fact that our senior Senator Jim Inhofe has decided not to finish his term. And so that puts his seat up for election in November as well. So again, Oklahoma we're at a real special place where we have 2 senators and 5 congressional districts, along with the governor's race and other state races that are going to be on the ballot this year. Because of Inhofe and the shakeup all over the state, the folks who might be running for his office that are in elected office, we have to backfill and recruit for those seats. And so that is a thing that I want to make sure that is ever on your mind, that not only do we need to make sure that we have a quality candidate to run for both of our Senate seats and all of our congressional seats, but some legislative seats are going to be up that we didn't know were going to be up 2 weeks ago. So as we're continuing to recruit, look around and see if your current legislator, particularly if they're a Republican, is going to vacate their seat, leaving it open and leaving an opportunity for a Democrat to get in and fill an open seat. Democrats do better with open seats and in special elections. So there's a real opportunity, and I'm not going to miss any opportunity to beg you to help me recruit candidates that you can support, recruit candidates that you will vote for. Right. So that's our big thing. And, on a side note, I'm going to say that I am personally excited and hopeful that with Inhofe's exit, we will be ending his reign of hypocrisy, his reign of, do as I say, not as I do legislation. That's with Inhofe. But on a legislative level here in our state House and state Senate, they're more focused on retaliatory bills and performative legislation. That's a whole nother thing, and it's going to take us a minute to get out of that. And what do I mean when I say retaliatory bills? So if something is happening in our ecosystem in Oklahoma that the Republican majority doesn't like, they just put their heads together and write a bill to try to undo it. So let me give you an example. The summer of George Floyd, that's what everybody's calling it, the summer where folks took to the streets to make sure that people understood that we're done with the injustice, that we don't want the injustice anymore. And they were out in the streets letting their voice be heard, which is their First Amendment right. The very next legislative session, there were tons of bills, anti-protest bills, which are actually anti-freedom of speech bills. But those are what I call retaliatory bills. And the bills that we have in this legislative session, there are a lot of them that are retaliatory. And I wrote it down and I forgot the one that I wanted to talk about. But there are bills that are just about, I didn't like this thing that happened, and so I'm going to write a bill to undo this one thing to make sure that I'm squashing the votes of the normal voter. So there's HB 3909. Thank you, sir, so very much. That is the Pardon and Parole Board. What this bill is aimed at is taking away a lot of the power of the Pardon and Parole Board. There's been a Pardon and Parole Board since 1944, whose duties are to deal with pardon parole, but look at whether an inmate there's a chance that the inmate has remorse, will return, is safe for public safety, and makes sense to release them out into the world. They have a responsibility. And this bill is our legislators seeking to cut them off at the knees. And it's not just another attempt at gutting our state agencies, which is another thing that they do. But this is because they're mad about the Julius Jones verdict of the Pardon and Parole Board. That's what this is about. It's a retaliatory bill. Performative legislation. All of these bathroom bills and all of these, well, let me see, another retaliatory bill. There's a bill aimed at making sure that we can't do petition initiatives, which is another way that Oklahomans voice what is important to them. It's, citizen legislation. It is a way that we can get involved outside of the legislature. And because folks have been using it to great effect, our legislature wants to make it harder for petition-led initiative petitions to succeed, squashing our votes, squashing our voices. That's retaliation. Performative, all the legislation that's about guns that we don't need, they're not granting any new gun rights. They just want to get them on the books. All of this nonsense about CRT and school choice and indoctrination, it has nothing to do with what is going on in Oklahoma. It has everything to do with our state legislators on the majority side trying to hang out with their buddies on a national level. Join me in calling our legislators and remind them that they are to speak for Oklahoma values, and their job is to improve the lives of Oklahomans versus taking it out on Oklahomans and lashing out at Oklahomans. Which brings me to school vouchers. This is a bill that on a national level, Republicans are pushing. It's a national level. It doesn't work as it's currently written. It won't work for the majority of Oklahomans. Over 90% of Oklahoman scholars go to public schools. And so to have this bill because everybody wants a choice is misleading, if not just out and out false. Taking money out of the school funding formula, the public school funding formula, hurts schools where there aren't very many choices for private schools or charter schools, namely our rural districts. Additionally, it disadvantages our children with disabilities. It disadvantages our children who have English fluency issues. And it disadvantages folks who have more than one kid. Right? The school voucher amount is $36,000 and $3,600. And they're saying that this is going to help with private school tuition. Private schools in Oklahoma range anywhere from $10,000 a year to $50,000 a year that I'm aware of, and there may be more. I give you 36, you still got to come up with 64. You still got to come up with 64, and your kid has to be accepted into that program, and your kid has to remain in that program. And so if a better athlete comes along, or if a potential valedictorian comes along, they're going to look for a reason to kick your student out. But by that time, those dollars are already taken out of the public school. They haven't worked out all of the kinks on this bill. They shouldn't be hearing this bill. Another issue is now they're saying, well, we're going to make sure that it doesn't, we're going to make sure that it doesn't affect school funding. Well, figure that out and then vote on it. We're going to make sure that that families of four who make more than $154,000 don't qualify for these grants. Well, if you're going to make sure, put it in the bill. And until then, don't hear this bill. Don't hear this bill. Let's not have straw legislation. Let's make sure that the people know what you're voting for and that all of our legislators know exactly what you're voting for and not what you think that it's going to be. And that's the big thing. I'm pleading and I'm asking all of you who are within earshot, whether you hear me today, Thursday at 4:30, or if you watch it later, when you get an opportunity, sit down, email, call your legislator, be polite, call your legislators and let them know that they should be representing Oklahomans, not national agenda or their own personal axe to grind. They should be proposing legislation that improves the lives of Oklahomans. Alrighty. Thank you all for joining me. I will be back here tomorrow at 4:15. You guys have a great one.